Baby Yoda, Baby Nut, Baby Sonic, and of course, Baby Spencer. Yeah, you heard me. In my mind, it counts. What is it that these entities, other than the last one, have in common? For one, they all have really large eyes almost completely engulfed in blackness.
All the better to look deeply into your eternals.
And well, I don't think you noticed this, but they're also all wearing specific pieces of clothing, whether it be Sonic's shoes, Baby Nut's hat, or Yoda's cloak. They're all baby versions of characters made from very popular brands. I don't need to spell it out for you. Twitter doesn't need to spell it out for you. It's rather obvious what's been going on with brands in the past year or so. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. People like babies, but you know who likes them even more? Ad executives. The main reason for that being babies are insanely marketable. Remember when the Fairly Odd Parents was going to end? They brought in a baby, boom, 4 more much worse seasons. It's a tried and true formula for reigniting interest in a dead or dying franchise. Why do you think Total Drama and Despicable Me have recently decided to do it? Someone, no matter how much of a brain-dead consumer, is going to want to look at the funny child versions of already young teenagers in Steve Carell. Simple fact. To be honest, it's been going on only for a few years so far, and I'm already completely sick of it. I'm not the only person either. This guy on Twitter, Alphared, said he was going to wage war on Baby Nut, and someone added me to join in. So, yeah, I'm gonna do it. To talk about why I specifically hate Baby Nut so much, first I need to discuss where the idea came from in the first place. The year is sometime in the 1980s. Every cartoon is made for the sole purpose of selling toys. The reason that most shows in the 80s had toy brands associated with them was because if they didn't, the show wouldn't really be able to come into fruition. In decades prior, cartoons stopped showing in theaters and instead on the common house TV, something at the time which wasn't seen as very profitable. That's why Hanna-Barbera was the king of that time. They could make hit after hit on a shoestring budget and are still considered iconic today. Quality was dependent on 2 main factors, marketability and cost. So basically, if the show costs money, it better be easy to slap on a lunchbox. By the later half of the 80s, a new trend was emerging for the least talented and idea-deprived creators possible, the kids/baby show. You'd have to be there to remember all the dumb, unnecessary baby or kids versions of popular characters that came out at the time. Baby Muppets, Flintstones Kids, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Yo Yogi, Tom and Jerry Kids, Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, remember Little Shop of Horrors? The classic B film turned musical, turned movie adaptation of that musical about a talking space plant that eats people? It's got a kids cartoon. Fuck it, why not? Here's a rap opening. If the characters weren't turned into babies, the main cast would get a young character who's usually a copy of the main protagonist, like the son of Popeye and Scrappy-Doo. Oh my god, I hate Scrappy-Doo. In retrospect, few of these cartoons hold up in any capacity beyond nostalgia blindness. You could make a case for A Pup Named Scooby-Doo and maybe Muppet Babies, but everything else was kind of garbage. Believe it or not, Yo Yogi is indeed not only real, but ran for 20 episodes. That's longer than Fooly Cooley. Was it worth it to make this? Really? Thankfully, during the 90s, experimentation and creator-driven cartoons were the big fad that still continues today to an extent. Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon ventured outward to create cartoons that weren't only meant to subliminally tell children what they should do with their parents' credit card, but could actually entertain people of all ages with a real artistic vision that hadn't been seen before at the time. That, once again, thankfully killed off the trend of baby-eyes versions of characters for a long time. Some attempts were made to revive the trend with Baby Looney Tunes and other futile endeavors, but it stayed underground until a certain Marvel movie decided to accidentally reignite interest in a brand idea that at that point had long laid dormant in hyperspace for a chance to reemerge. Though no baby trend historians have picked a date for when the trend of babies really started gaining back some steam, I think it all began with the appearance of Baby Groot. For anyone unfamiliar with the MCU, Groot was a tree person who sacrificed himself to save his friends in the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie, leaving nothing behind but a seed to possibly grow himself back. In the second movie, Groot is a baby who by the end credits grows into a teenager. Another quirk about Groot was that he could only say his name in a deep voice, so having the same thing come out of a small, cute version of himself would be instantly marketable. With his simplistic design, it's easy to see why people liked it and how it could easily give other companies the idea to do the same. When The Mandalorian was released least, Baby Yoda was a fan favorite already. That was for two simple reasons: fan service and cuteness. Everyone knows who Yoda is, and seeing him as a powerful baby is not only adorable to the average viewer, but it also fills a hole for the fanboys looking for answers. He's given plenty of moments that could readily be made into a GIF to take the internet by storm. Everyone loved Baby Yoda until the fog cleared and Disney announced they'd be selling a replica of the character for $350. Call me crazy, but this 16-inch figure doesn't look like it'd be worth that much money. It's almost as if Disney is taking advantage of the consumer to heavily profit off a character made for that sole purpose. Videos have also recently been surfacing of Disney going above and beyond promoting Baby Yoda to extents that some would call excessive. Going into a store at Disneyland or Disney World will yield way too much related to Baby Yoda. 6 months ago, during the hype around The Mandalorian, this could be acceptable, but at this point Disney is just over-advertising Baby Yoda like they did for the rest of the Star Wars franchise. It's kind of sad. Other than Baby Yoda, there's Baby Sonic. Sonic, surprisingly enough, has never had a baby version of himself. He's had younger-looking versions of himself in games like Generations, but for the most part, no one came up with the brilliant idea to make Sonic a baby. The marketing around Baby Sonic was more of a problem in Japan rather than the US. In Japan, Baby Sonic was promoted on posters, you got a keychain if you bought specific items, and generally, he was shown much more in the advertising. The problem being he was in the movie as a child for only the opening 5 minutes. It feels sort of tacked on and like it was put in there for marketing purposes rather than fulfilling an artistic vision. Those little bits aren't the main reason for this video though. The main attraction of my pure hatred and scorn goes to the character known by the name Baby Nut. Planters was never the worst brand account trying to be hip with the kids. They had this nice, classy mascot called Mr. Peanut, who'd endorsed the product for over 100 years. Simple, nice, barely annoying in any way. Then, for some reason, one day Planters decided to take this mascot and fuck him to the 10,000th degree by just killing him off. It came right the hell out of nowhere with some ad involving Wesley Snipes and some other guy, leading to Mr. Peanut being dead. His fellow brands decided to roll with it and send their mini condolences, cashing in on the hashtag and getting whatever little bits of attention they could. The one question left after this questionable marketing decision was, I'm guessing, what happens next. The Mr. Peanut Twitter becomes the estate of Mr. Peanut, and for a while there's just complete silence. They give it enough time for Conan to make a sketch about it, then, after a Super Bowl airing of the commercial, a horrific tragedy befalls humanity that we could never have expected. Through the tears of the Kool-Aid Man, Mr. Peanut is able to come back to life as Baby Nut, destroyer of worlds, ender of happiness. This entire time, Planters had been leading us up to not the introduction of a new mascot or having anything interesting, but a ploy to make us buy more nuts and Kool-Aid. The same day the stupid commercial appeared, tons of merchandise was already filling up the Twitter page. Baby Nut plushies, stickers, hats, mugs. There's really no reason to have Baby Nut on all these things. Who genuinely likes Baby Nut beyond the meme manufactured by brands to make us spread it around?
I do.
Shut up, Tristan. So what? It's a Baby Nut. How cute. Let's move on and forget about this, right, Twitter? Oh wait, the masses are liking this and sharing and buying merch? Whatever happened to Cease Brand? Isn't that kind of forced internet fame what it was made for? And speaking of Twitter, the Baby Nut Twitter is one of the worst I've ever looked at, even in comparison to other brand accounts. Baby Nut has a gimmick to his account that makes him much different from other brands. He's a baby, and babies inherently are cuter than non-babies. Look at Baby. Is he not so cute and funny for the general public? Do you not laugh at his hilarious statements about wanting to get out of his crib for his pacifier? Because he's Baby, and babies have those things. And would you look at that? He's using intentionally misspelled words in his tweets along with emojis. How amusing! It just goes on like this, and going through, I felt an innate urge to strangle the social media head as soon as possible. Part of my hatred comes from Baby Nut's odd, most likely intentional resemblance to a minion. He's a big yellow dot with various small features that make him look cute but aren't difficult to design. His design is so simple, in fact, that he could be slapped onto basically any kind of merchandise and not many people would take issue with it, just like minions. We can only wait for drunken wine moms to make Facebook posts using Baby Nut to talk about their broken marriages. But really, one of the main reasons I just hate Baby Nut's Twitter though is this 3D VR chat looking puppet that's parading around the page in quote-unquote funny dances and memes. Look, I understand comedy is subjective and all. You don't have to have the same sense of humor as me. But this? If you laugh at this, I gotta wonder. How's preschool going? I find it genuinely difficult to see why someone would laugh at this calculated, mass-produced bullshit of unfunny humor. Oh, you think this random video of Baby Nut doing a yoga pose is gonna be a big hit at executives? I suppose I can't say you're wrong, because this video makes me want to punt Baby Nut into the stratosphere. Baby Nut is trash, don't at me. Good night, world.